Well, you may have won in week 1 and feel pretty good. You may have lost in week 1 and feel pretty bad or good. I don't know. But it's week 2, and you need to set your starting lineup. And we are here for you. Part 1 of the week 2 preview here on the Audible. It is Cecil Lammey. It is Sigmund Bloom. It is NFL football. So let's talk about Thursday night football. It is Green Bay and it's Washington. Washington side first because this one is in Green Bay. And with the Commanders, Bloom, I'm open to be wrong. I think 3 of the most powerful words that we can say as people is I was wrong. And I saw you tweeting about the Washington weapons, including Debo. And I had felt like, oh man, they got fat Debo. They're not signing Terry. What's going on? But thank God for Bill. Thank God for Jaden. And thank God for not fat Debo and Terry's being there. So Terry could do a little more this week. But it certainly looks like the Commanders are rolling. And hey, NFC Championship game preview for this game? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's what's fun about this one. This is a good Thursday night game and a great contrast in team building. And this is going to be really fun. Jaden Daniels is going up against the defense that just shut down Detroit. And, Micah Parsons isn't a full-time player yet. He probably won't be a full-time player in this game. But you can't underestimate the invigoration for this whole team, especially this defense, though, well-coached defense, Jeff Hafley, of adding a player like Micah Parsons and how much it gets everyone charged up. So what a great test for both sides in this matchup. Jay Daniels, there was more there. There was a lot more there. Some uncharacteristic errant passes, including an overthrow of Terry McLaurin when McLaurin was open for a long touchdown. And unfortunately, I think with Deebo Samuel, he's the guy. Okay, Deebo Samuel's the number 1 receiver in this offense, and he should be. And he's being used to his strengths. Now with McLaurin, I think you're looking at him more like a wide receiver 3 flex type, where if he catches the touchdown, if Jaden Daniels was on point with that, we're fine with McLaurin. If he doesn't, well, you saw what you got, because you also have Zach Ertz. And hey, with the tight end turmoil, injuries, underperforming players, 5 targets, a touchdown, not so bad. And more Bill, right? Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt eased in, touchdown, big run to help ice the game. So is he part of the answer of how you slow down a Green Bay pass rush now? Because Green Bay has that recipe on defense where they can get pressure with their front 4 and just their front 4. And that makes life hard no matter how good you are. So we're going to see inspired play on both sides of the ball whenever Washington's on offense.
Yeah, I love on the Commanders Twitter yesterday, they did the I'm just a Bill. The old, conjunction junction, that type of stuff. So, yeah, I'm
Beautiful.
just a Bill. And we're just talking about Packers, and we're talking about a Packers team that is ready for Super Bowl. So how do they perform this week at home against the Commanders?
A lot of running the ball, probably. Josh Jacobs, although we did see Jordan Love cook early in the game in the win over Detroit. Giants' running game was bottled up by Washington. So we'll see if Jacobs can get on track. He's the one constant in the offense. Otherwise, you're going to be spreading it around. Jaden Reed, we'll see how he responds on a short week with that foot injury, but he looked fine catching a touchdown. Romeo Doubs got a lot of snaps, not necessarily a lot of production. Same with Matthew Golden, not as many snaps, only I think 1 more snap than Dontavian Wicks, who also played a role. And then, of course, there's still Tucker Kraft. And also Luke Musgrave is giving them some 2 tight end sets. So you're going to see varied looks. And if you want to play a Jaden Reed, if you want to play Matthew Golden and Romeo Doubs in this game, in some ways you're putting a chip on Jaden Daniels. If Jaden Daniels can put up enough points to force the Packers out of their shell and have Jordan Love throw the ball 30 or 35 times, now we're talking. Kraft is still a fine tight end to play this week because of his ability to score touchdowns and make big plays. But we need more targets if we're going to start to count on any of these guys. And that in some ways depends on the Packers defense. And this is going to be a great game.
Yeah, and the Packers without a number 1 wide receiver, maybe that's just the way it is all year. As we sit and wait for someone to emerge, you could just be like Judge Smalls and go, well,
yeah,
we're waiting.
And
we're waiting.
Christian Watson getting that 1-year extension this morning. So they're showing us that they expect him to contribute this year and next year. And you might say, oh, for fantasy football. But think about trying to make a game plan when you have Golden and Watson on opposite sides of the formation.
Right. Definitely some talent there. Some talent in Jacksonville. If only Trevor Lawrence was better, Maybe that's just me. We'll talk Jacksonville, Cincinnati up next, and we'll get to the Bengals side. There's plenty there. But on Jacksonville, when I watched them last week, I'm like, okay, can we use Brian Thomas a little bit more? Okay, Travis Hunter, amazing, but like Trevor, be better
Yeah.
against the Bengals defense. Maybe he does look better.
Yeah, he has to, right? If he doesn't, then we have to wonder how long it's going to take to really trust him and trust the targets in this offense in our lineup, except for maybe Brent Strange. And it's funny how winning is that deodorant, right? Because we can look at some quarterbacks in debuting in these new offenses or new offenses for them. JJ McCarthy, Caleb Williams, Geno Smith. They all had ups and downs, maybe more downs for some than others. But with JJ McCarthy, we're optimistic because they won. Caleb Williams, there's a little more sense of despair. Same thing with Trevor Lawrence. They won. Hey, no big deal. We got time to figure this out. Well, against Cincinnati, I think you should be inclined. Obviously, you're putting Brian Thomas back in. I think you should still be inclined to put Travis Hunter back in. And Dami Brown is playing a role. I mean, they liked him a lot, and that's part of what's complicating things. If Trevor Lawrence isn't executing, Cincinnati did shut down the Cleveland running game. But the Cleveland running game was Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford and Rocket Sanders. So Travis Etienne, big gaps, blasting open holes. Can Jacksonville do that against Cincinnati? We'll see. Brent Strange again, tight end. The bar's getting even lower. Brent Strange, leading receiver in yards. The touchdown goes to Hunter Long. If that touchdown had gone to Strange, we'd be really excited to play him. We should probably still be excited to play him because it's Cincinnati.
Yeah, and you should still be excited to play your Bengals, Bloom, even after week 1, where it was like, oh, that's not great, Bob, but it's your Bengals, and you invested heavily in these guys, so yes, go forth
You
and
have
start
to.
them.
You got to this week, and then we'll reassess because Jacksonville's defense, Anthony Campanile, coming from that Green Bay defensive coaching tree, really good performance against Bryce Young. Or is it just that Bryce Young is reverting back to being a timid quarterback, an overwhelmed quarterback? So again, that second data point, let's tease apart. Is Jacksonville's defense better than we expected? Is Carolina's offense just worse than we expected? And again, part of this picture sees every week when we talk about Cincinnati, we're going to talk about also the defense, because if Travis Etienne gets on track again and the Jags are able to grind out long drives, you're going to see the opportunities for Joe Burrow diminished. And then if Jacksonville's defense, it wasn't just Bryce Young, again, we're going to come in under expectations. Chase Brown also is one of the players who could come in under expectations just because, again, opportunities to be participating. But he's probably the safest play of the four of them. We know that there's no tight end that's safe now that Noah Fant has asserted himself. So, yeah, Cincinnati, it's funny, Cincinnati won, but I'm probably most worried about them.
Yeah, exactly. Giants and Dallas. Okay, it's Russell Wilson again, I think. For now, how long does that last? Let's talk about this NFC East battle, Giants side first.
With the Giants, Matt Waldman brought up a really good point. Andrew Thomas, the best offensive lineman for the Giants, the left tackle, still coming back from a Liz Frank injury last year that ended his season. So perhaps that's part of the thinking, Cease. Like, we're not going to put I hope so. It's sane. Why would you put Jackson Dart out there in the situation where, well, Dallas's pass rush isn't that scary, but Dallas's run defense was better. So for Tyrone Tracy, know that he got about 75% of the snaps, and he was still the lead back. Not much there. Now, could that start to change if he's not producing that much? We'll see. Tracy's a what the heck flex here against, a Dallas run defense that's improved. Malik Neighbors, you got to keep him in. Underperforming because of Russell Wilson's performance, but still, as bad as it was with Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas last week, for instance. And Wan'Dale Robinson, we see his role improving. He's expanding his range. He's not just catching passes close to the line of scrimmage. All this stuff, Cease, just makes me think, what can this look like when Jackson Dart is quarterback? But we're not going to get to see that this week.
Not just yet. And with the Cowboy side of things, okie doke. Dallas defensively, whatever, but it's a divisional game, and Dak Prescott and company will be fired up. So, how much confidence do you have in your Cowboys this week?
Yeah, they executed well in week 1. Brian Schottenheimer has this team ready to play. So that's the good side. And Javonte Williams, I think, had one of the best numbers for yards before contact. We talk about yards after contact. That's more of an offensive line stat. I mean, some of it's the running back making the right read and hitting the hole hard. So that makes me pretty confident to play Javonte Williams this week. Miles Sanders getting caught from behind, fumbling in the red zone. No. Jaden Blue, now we're getting a little more information that the coaches want to see more consistency. So now we're all the way back to where we were in the offseason saying, well, Jaden Blue needs to show that he's going to be consistent before he gets opportunities. But if he can, I'm spending a lot of time talking about Jaden Blue, he might not even be active. But if you have the highest yards before contact number in the league, and then you add the speed of Jaden Blue, because that's the thing. Javonte Williams, yeah, he's running with a lot of power and determination, but he's not adding value to the touches. He's harvesting the value the offensive line is creating. So I'm interested to watch that. Obviously interested to watch CeeDee Lamb. I think to atone for his drops, you might see him put up like a 200-yard game here. We'll see if George Pickens can do more than just draw a long pass interference. You've got Jake Ferguson, low ceiling, but could get a touchdown again as Dallas much better than expected. Giants pass rush will try to make life a little harder for Dak Prescott, who played much better than his stats last week.
You mentioned much better than expected. What does that mean for Caleb Williams? As we talk Bears and Lions in this divisional battle, and we got a glimpse of Caleb with Ben Johnson. Some of the memes floating around about Ben Johnson and his frustrations are kind of funny, but it's your fantasy league. You want to win. There's no funniness here. What about with Caleb against the Lions? We got plenty of questions with the Lions to get to, but let's talk Bears first.
Yeah, see, you know what my note is for the show on Caleb? So polarizing. So polarizing. What a fascinating character in the grand American novel of the NFL, because I think that it's the first game. I mean, all summer we heard it's going to be choppy at first. We saw what it took for the Lions before Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator to start to really leverage the gains from Dan Campbell's offensive mind. It took well into the season. And yet, with Caleb Williams, there's a lot of analysis, dissection of his game, and everybody can see it. See, what was the tweet? Don't watch the all 22 for Caleb Williams. Just don't. Because if you do the I'm seeing what he's seeing, and then based on that, here's the decision he made. It's the radio's picking up static. It's not tuning in to anything. And does that change over time? I don't know. We'll see against Detroit this week. And the funny thing was Caleb scrambled for over 50 yards and a touchdown. So he was actually a pretty solid fantasy quarterback. So he might end up, it's funny how sometimes fantasy results get separated from what's actually happening with the player. But nobody has a high ceiling in this passing game until Caleb Williams gets it figured out. Roma Dunze, DJ Moore. I mean, Moore was there for Moore. If one play where Moore kind of slowed down was there. So they're upside wide receiver 3 flex plays. Olamide Zaccheaus is going to be a monkey wrench here, getting targets, getting some of the easier targets, the trusted targets. You have Cole Kmet playing ahead of Colston Loveland. Again, these guys are like 4A and 4B in the target pecking order. We will see if DeAndre Swift can do better against Detroit run defense that looked pretty good against Josh Jacobs last week. Want to see if Roschon Johnson can get up. We don't know about Kyle Monangai. Seemed like that holding penalty, maybe the team doesn't trust him. So we want to know who's number 2 as the Bears running game still not getting it done. Is it because of the offensive line? Is it because of DeAndre Swift? It's hard to say, but it's not going to matter, again, unless Caleb Williams gets this figured out.
Yeah, and the Lions getting things figured out after a week 1 performance that was disappointing. What D word would you use to describe Detroit in week 2? Will it be disappointing again?
The D. My brain, I have nothing. But what I do have is that the Chicago defense for 3 quarters was very good. Now their corners are also hurt. Sounds like a recipe for Jared Goff to get going indoors with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, of course, Sam Laporta, who was the one player who wasn't brought down by the tough performance at Lambeau last week. You are seeing more Jahmyr Gibbs than Dave Montgomery, although Dave Montgomery is more like Jordan Mason, and that's when things got going for Minnesota, when Jordan Mason's getting yards after contact, the physical runner, much like Dave Montgomery. So Montgomery's more what the heck flex, and with Jahmyr Gibbs, hopefully you don't have to depend on him getting 10 receptions to have some points. And maybe we get some more Isaac Tesla in this game after that garbage time touchdown. This is one of the best garbage time touchdowns I've ever seen.
Yeah, garbage time It matters as well. It matters to get your starter set. That's why we're here for you. Week 2 preview part 1, 4 games down, 4 games to go. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom, 20 years of the Audible, and it's Rams and it's Titans. And if you look at that division that the Rams are in, it's only 1 week, Bloom, but man, they could be in the driver's seat in
Yeah.
that division with everything that's going on with everybody else. Take care of business on the road against Tennessee. Let's start with the Rams side here.
Yeah, and it looks like Cease. Here's my forecast for the NFC West. It's going to be a physical defense-led division. So if you can win those kind of street fight games, you can probably win this division. And the Rams won a game like that against the Texans last week. It was 14-9. Expect a similar score in this game. As you know, with the Rams, the guards are banged up. And let me tell you, you do not want to be facing Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons when your guards aren't healthy. So I don't expect Kyron Williams to get going. I'm not saying bench Kyron Williams. I don't expect him to get going. And we know in the passing game, Devontae Adams is more wide receiver 3 flex. Again, especially if you're going to have trouble protecting Matthew Stafford with that inside A gap, B gap pressure that blows everything up. But we know that Puka Nacua, the psychopath, man, I mean, this dude was born to play football. I just, sometimes sees fantasy football comes back to like, I get to have a team. Who do I want to have on my football team? I want Puka Nacua on my football team. If he can make it through this season, Cease, without falling apart because of how much he sacrifices his body, we're looking at him, I think, on that Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson kind of level, if he can stay healthy. But man, is he fun to watch and is he fun to have on your team?
Yeah, fun to watch Puka. Fun to watch Cam Ward. Not when Brian Callahan's coaching him. So let's fast forward to next year. But it's there with Cam Ward for sure. You saw the fight he put up against the Broncos in Week 1. Now at home, what kind of fight? And will Brian Callahan have a better game plan for this young man who looks legit?
Yeah, he looks legit in that he's ready for the challenge.
Yes.
His radio's not picking up static. He may be learning his limitations, but he's ready. Now, still, what's the passing game? At least Calvin Ridley won't be covered by Patrick Surtain. So Calvin Ridley's back into our wide receiver 3 flex consideration. And then Tony Pollard. I mean, they're really depending on Tony Pollard to do a lot. The offensive line wasn't as bad as expected, but right tackle might be an issue. And Cam Ward, because he's a fighter, holding on to the ball, maybe erring on the side of throwing the ball away might be a little better in this one. Still, it's going to be low scoring. So again, outside of Ridley and Pollard, maybe Chigakonkwo, we're just doing some fact finding to see if in a game where they do have, Cam Ward now has that first data point. Okay, this is how it is against the speed of NFL defenses. A really good NFL defense. The Rams aren't a really good NFL defense, but they have some really good players up front that, again, are going to force him to show that fight.
Yeah, he's got plenty of it, that's for sure. Patriots and Dolphins, one side is not like the other, and we might just skip over the Dolphin side. But let's talk about the Patriots first, and let's talk about Booty, because, of course, a lot of fantasy jams out there working that waiver wire. Booty was a very popular pick. Trevion Henderson was a popular pick in your drafts. So Drake May on the road against the Dolphins. Looks like that team could get their W this week.
Yeah, they should. And this is going to be a test of, do we just start everyone against Miami every week, Cease? Like, we'll be able to skip both sides. We're not going to talk about Miami because it's too depressing, and just start everyone against Miami. So Ramondre Stevenson, Trevion Henderson are at least flex plays, maybe even running back twos this week. Butte, you see the chemistry with Drake May carrying over. Drake May not always dialed in, some errant passes, but he was dialed in throwing to Kayshon Butte downfield. And then you have Hunter Henry playing more snaps, making some great trust catches. And then Drake May, depending on who your other choice is at quarterback, absolutely, I can see recommending Drake May this week. The upside is very high, as we want to see, Miami, the stick. We're poking them. Do something. Show some life. It's rare that we get into week 2 season, we're saying they're playing for their coach's job. But Miami might be playing for their coach's job this week.
Yeah, for sure. And they're not fun to watch at all. What in the hell's going on with Tyreek Hill? Again. And Mike McDaniel, and I know the Rex Ryan thing went viral, but how many times they pass over Rex Ryan? Like, he's just bitter. Like, leave Mike alone, leave Brittany alone. But my God, this Dolphins team. Not fun
Yeah.
at all, Bloom.
No, it's not. And from a fantasy perspective, you're still going to play Dovin Achan. Now, last week against New England's very tough front, there wasn't much there for Ashton Genty, but you're probably going to play Achan in any event. Maybe Tyreek Hill, maybe Jalen Waddle, maybe. I mean, you did see Geno Smith throw for 362 yards, something like that. But I just don't know. Tua Tagovailoa looked so confused against the Colts last week, and it just feels like, again, the canary in the coal mine here was the Lions Dolphins joint practices, when the writers on both sides, but especially the Detroit writers, said, well, either the Dolphins are going to be monumentally bad or the Lions are going to be monumentally good. The Lions got thumped in. So which side of that do you think we're watching play out? And how do you feel about Tyreek Hill, the Steeler?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel about Mac Jones versus Spencer Rattler? Is that real? Okay.
Oy.
We're recording on Wednesday morning, and that's what we're staring at for the 49ers side, which are going to be without George Kittle. I guess Christian's out there for now, but already after 1 week, it's bad news for the 49ers.
Yeah, Brock Purdy with toe and shoulder injuries. Now, I don't think they've called anyone up from the practice squad or made any moves that indicate they're adding a third quarterback. So we're going to watch that, because I think if they don't add a third quarterback, then you're going to see Brock Purdy start. Not a bad matchup. New Orleans defense fought hard against Arizona. So I don't know if Purdy is a quarterback one without George Kittle, with maybe Juwan Jennings, maybe Kendrick Bourne in place with Juwan Jennings. But yeah, you're going to see a lot of Ricky Pearsall and a lot of Christian McCaffrey. And even if it is Mac Jones, we saw with Brian Thomas Jr. last year, Mac Jones can at least support the value of the main pieces of the offense. So, and Mac Jones with Kyle Shanahan. Wow. We may actually get to see Mac Jones pilot a Kyle Shanahan offense after so many rumors that was going to be the pick at number 3. So I think San Francisco absolutely qualifies as a team that can win the NFC West, but they got to keep their quarterback healthy, and you got to win a game on the road against a team that starts Spencer Rattler.
Yes, a team that starts Spencer Rattler, and they're still trying to figure it out. And Kellen Moore and company at home against a wounded, potentially really wounded 49ers team. What kind of a fight do they put up? What kind of fantasy gold can you mine here?
Gold, I don't know. Maybe some silver.
Bronze?
No oro. Maybe some plata. Well, you've got a lot of targets. A lot of targets for Juwan Jennings, especially in PPR leagues. He's a tight end 1. A lot of targets for Chris Olave. He's a high floor wide receiver 3 flex type. I think you can put him in there. Rashid Shaheed actually got a lot of targets last week. Nothing downfield really to light up the game, light up the box score, but at the very least, he's still in consideration here. What was a bit concerning is Alvin Kamara not getting a lot of targets and actually running pretty well and getting the touchdown. So you still keep him in your lineup. But if he's not on pace to get 60, 70, 80 catches, that's not necessarily what you signed up for. Now, Kellen Moore, this is maybe a sign that Kellen Moore's not going to rely on him in the same way that other offensive coordinators have in the past. And everyone from the Bay Area, welcome to New Orleans this weekend. Have some fun. Weather's great. No hurricanes in the Atlantic right now. So enjoy yourselves. It's later than you think.
Yeah, there you go. Bills and Jets to wrap up this puppy. It's part 1 of the week 2 preview here on the Audible. And we saw week 1. We saw some offenses that are trying to get it. And then we saw some offenses that look like well-oiled machines. Enter Buffalo. Buffalo has entered the chat. And it's against the Jets. So this one could be a lot more fun than you first look at the schedule like, oh, yeah, waxing the Jets, whatever. Maybe the Jets put up a fight, and, well, the Bills are definitely going to put up a fight and points.
Yeah, see, we don't recap the Sunday night game. Wow. And, I know some Bills fans. I know you have some people close to your heart that are Bills fans too. Here's what I'm getting from all my Bills fans friends this week. How about our quarterback? And I will continue to light prayer candles that the Buffalo fan base gets to enjoy a Super Bowl win while I'm alive to see it. However, you get the feeling after a game like last week that they're like, Super Bowl, no Super Bowl. I love my quarterback so much, and I love rooting for this team with him as the quarterback so much that it's okay. It's still okay. That's the kind of game that Josh Allen had. And you saw it with him, elevating James Cook, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, not looking too bad coming off the high ankle sprain. Joshua Palmer, just he's still viable. On Kincaid even scored a touchdown. His role's not growing, but again, with tight end a little thin, you're looking at him because this was a Jets defense that took the bait. Why were the Steelers able to put up 34 points on them last week? Because the Arthur Smith play calls, they took the bait. And then the receivers were running open, and Aaron Rodgers can execute. Josh Allen can execute. So in some ways, this is fun when we move to the Jets side because the Jets are going to have to put up some points to stay in this game.
Yeah, just like they did last week. It's less personal than last week, although it should be personal, Bloom, because it's a divisional game against an opponent that looks like Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah, and Justin Fields, again, big developments here. He's throwing the ball after the play breaks down. He's keeping his attention and his eyes downfield when the defense is saying, oh, he's scrambling, it's time to chase him down. So that could be really big. He's a high ceiling quarterback one this week. Breece Hall, hello. And also the Jets running game. And no one's talking about their best offensive lineman getting hurt before the season started. So the Jets running game looks really good. And hey, Justin Fields also is benefiting from how this offensive line is executing. And Garrett Wilson is executing. And Garrett Wilson now looks like an every week wide receiver one. So what we're going to learn this week was, is the Steelers defense more flawed than we think? The Bills defense looked pretty flawed, but is that just because of the Ravens and how good their offense is? Is Justin Fields for real? So again, the second data point, lots of things to learn this week.
That's what we're doing. We're learning and hopefully winning alongside with you. It is the Audible 20 years of this show, and we appreciate you very much. He is Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on all the socials at Sigmund Bloom. I am at Cecil Lammey. The show is at the Audible, saying thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.